We all know that one of the things that sex should be in order for it to be really amazing is that sex should be spontaneous. Or at least that's the answer I get when I ask people, what do you want from sex? What do you desire from sex? How would you love your sex life to be? I'm always told, I want it to be spontaneous. I just don't want to think about it. I just want it to happen. People never say to me, I want incredible passion. I want mind-boggling, earth-shattering orgasm. I want to feel so alive in my body that I'm sparkling and vibrating with life. I never get these answers, or very seldom. I do when people have experienced it, but what I get a lot is, oh, I want sex to be spontaneous. I don't really want to think about it. I just want it to happen. And what I'm going to suggest today is that this desire for sex to be something that just happens, that sex is just spontaneous, that it just erupts out of nowhere, that's just this surge of passion simultaneously overwhelms two or more people, so that this incredible sex just happens out of nowhere, it's kind of a bit of a false desire, and I think it's actually harming the way humans, especially in long-term relationships, are experiencing their sex, and it's making us all so much more disappointed and feel so much more broken than we truly are. And I'm going to explain how and why in the video today. Actually, I think our desire for sex to be spontaneous is just a tad childish. I'm sorry I've said it, but I think it's true. Isn't it just slightly childish to want something amazing in life without making any effort? For it just to kind of magically happen? Like, I would really love a very elegant, beautiful, very clean home. I'd love that to just spontaneously happen. We all want amazing things in our lives to just happen because essentially humans are quite lazy. We don't really like making a huge effort. And problem we experience with sex is that in the early days, in a new relationship with a new lover, we're experiencing so much newness that our bodies are flooded with this neurotransmitter, dopamine, which just makes us feel absolutely incredible. And we're being rewarded for all these new experiences, all the new feelings, all the newness, all the new smells, all the new touch, all the newness of this new person we're with. And it's dopamine that's flooding our bodies and making us feel completely heady and alive. With what I call new relationship energy, with NRE. Now, the problem with sex is that NRE exists in a new relationship. But most of us don't want to spend our lives going from one relationship to another. It would be very demanding, it would be kind of exhausting, and we actually want to settle down. We want to create this loving, connected bond with one person. So how do we create a loving, connected bond with one person and then deal with the fact that we lose NRE? Now, there are lots of different things you could try, and one of the things I'm going to suggest you try today is you get rid of this idea of spontaneity. If you're in a long-term relationship, let's just ditch the need for sex to be spontaneous, and let me talk to you today about the 3 reasons why I think yearning for spontaneous sex in a long-term relationship is damaging to you and it's damaging to your sex life. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about male sexual energy. So male sexual energy, love it, nothing wrong with it, I'm not judging it, but I'm going to make the point that it can be very quick. So male sexual energy generally goes from very cool to very hot in a matter of minutes. It's massively efficient, it's a supercar. 0 to 60 miles an hour in seconds. And this is the same with male sexual energy. And it's very different to female sexual energy. Now, what I have noticed with the desire for spontaneous sex is that spontaneous sex happens when 2 people spontaneously feel aroused at the same time. And that becomes harder and harder as the relationships become more and more long-term, because whilst in the dopamine phase, when there's lots and lots of this heady chemical surging around our bodies, it's kind of easy to get this incredible state of arousal very rapidly. It becomes less and less so. Now, the thing about spontaneous sex and male sexual energy is that men have a very strong need, and I do understand this need, for them to enter sex in a place of arousal. There's a fear in men, and I need to speak to this fear more, that men are very concerned about getting a good erection, keeping a good erection, maintaining a good erection, and then giving the female enough pleasure with that good erection. That's a huge amount of pressure. Now, if sex has to be spontaneous, and if spontaneous sex can only start when the man is in erection, there isn't a lot of time for female pleasure. Like if this gap between male arousal and male ejaculation is a matter of minutes, where is the time for the female sexual energy? So what I kind of want to say is that spontaneous sex, in its desire to happen just spontaneously, for it just to erupt out of nowhere, is going to begin with some kind of male erection, some kind of male arousal. If you've got male arousal, the erection's on its way, ejaculation's only just around the corner. This is not conducive to all of the stuff that a female wants, all the stuff that creates arousal and orgasm in the woman. That takes time. It just takes time. Which leads us very nicely onto my second issue with spontaneous sex. Female sexual energy takes time to build. It takes time to grow. It needs to be nurtured and nourished. It's the absolute opposite of spontaneous. We love to be courted and, if you like, danced to bed. We want it to be slow. We want to be honoured and cherished and adored and respected. We don't want something to just happen really quickly. Yes, in the early dopamine phases, we are rewarded because of the dopamine for the quicker, hastier, more spontaneous model of sex. But actually, as we settle into a long-term relationship, it really matters to us to build intimacy, grow connection, and feel really beautiful in our body. And I don't see where there's room for beauty in spontaneous sex. So just the practicalities. These days, unless you are a courtesan, I don't think there are many courtesans left in the world. Most women watching this video, as a regular mum, we're balancing kids, we're balancing a job, we're doing chores all day, we're trying to keep the kitchen floor clean. And then if sex kind of spontaneously happens, we're sweaty, we're crabby, we're stressed, we're not in a place to feel like a queen. We're not in a place to feel like, yeah, honour me, worship me, make my body hum with pleasure. We're not in that place. For women to truly enjoy sex, we need to be so relaxed. We need to feel so beautiful in ourselves. We need to feel pampered and cherished. It takes time. So actually, I think the vast majority of women, and if you look at how we behave, if you look at how we set up the bedroom to create a beautiful space for sex, how we bring in scents, how we bring in beautiful sensations, candles, soft light, beautiful music, we don't actually want sex to be a sudden spontaneous event on the kitchen table. We want it to be in a sacred, beautiful, delicious space where we feel amazing. When we feel amazing, our bodies have the space to bloom, to open, to pulsate with life. The smash and the grab campaign in the kitchen might make us feel desired, and yeah, it's great to feel desired, and there is a big reward system in our body when we feel desired. But how much more beautiful to feel desired in a beautiful setting with beautiful soft lighting, and allow that period of desire and worship and adoration to go from 10 minutes to an hour, to 2 hours, to an indulgence. Like, we can barely allow ourselves to think how amazing it would feel to be sexually pleasured for 2 hours. Why have we settled for so little? Why do we spend so much time watching television, surfing Facebook, when actually the stuff that will bring us to life is the sensation and pleasure that we can experience through slower, less spontaneous sex? And then my third argument with this idea about spontaneous sex is that it fuels this narrative that if we make an effort about sex, if we have to think about it, if we have to prepare for it, if we have to pamper ourselves for it, if we have to learn something new about sex, that somehow it's not right, somehow we're getting it wrong, that if sex isn't spontaneous, if it isn't a natural urge, if we're not just following an instinct, that somehow the relationship has gone off the boil. Like if we... That's really screwy to me. Like if I make an effort for my sexual partner to make him or her feel amazing, there's something wrong in our relationship. Really? To me, you show someone you love them by how much you're prepared to give them and the time you take to draw them into this beautiful space and have a beautiful encounter with them. And the need for it all to be spontaneous, the need for it all to just happen, means that we don't allow ourselves to prepare, we don't allow ourselves to learn, we don't allow ourselves to think about it. Like, look at people's bookshelves. Everyone's got huge numbers of cookery books on their bookshelves, but only people like me have huge numbers of sex books on our bookshelves. Why aren't we reading about sex? Why aren't we reading recipes for great sex? Like, why is this not a thing? So what I'd like to invite you into is exploring how you can enter into sex in a non-spontaneous energy. Like, make the time for it. Carve out time for sex, just like you carve out time for, I don't know, all the other things that make your life beautiful. Gardening, cleaning, cooking. Like, let's make time. Don't expect it just to happen. Make time for it. And then allow your bodies to get to know each other in a cool energy. We're all very familiar and comfortable with hugging each other. So let's go the next step. Let's start stroking and touching and feeling the energy, the sensation growing on our body from mutually cool places. Make the effort from a cool sexual energy. Become really curious. It's vulnerable to be curious, but you're in a long-term relationship with a loving partner. Grow this intimacy with each other. Grow this connection. Allow yourselves to express your love through questions. What pleases you? How would you like me to touch you? And expressing how you'd like to be touched, what you would enjoy. Take time to pamper yourself. Take time to plan your sex. Take time to create the space. Take time to select beautiful music. Take time to select beautiful candles and fill the room with flowers. And yeah, us women, we don't want to walk around in sexy lingerie all day. It's really bloody uncomfortable, but we really want to put it on before sex. And we'd really like to be able to pull out the beautiful clothes and the beautiful lingerie and put it on for sex, rather than feeling we have to be mothers whilst wearing really expensive stockings with suspender belts that slip down and feel like they're going to fall off us as we're halfway around Waitrose. I mean, it's just not realistic. We don't want to feel like we have to be oven ready all the time for any man who wants to grab us. We want to feel like goddesses, like queens in the bedroom. So let's all give ourselves the space and the time to get there. Now, if in watching this video you're like, oh, you know what, I want to learn how to feel like a queen, I want to reclaim my goddess, I want to learn how to use time and spaciousness to feel really beautiful pleasure and sensation in my body again, connect with me, book a complimentary call. They're completely confidential, and we'll talk about the next steps you can take in rediscovering and reclaiming your sexuality. And if you're not ready for that, but you want to hear more from me and want to guarantee that you don't miss out on any of my videos or any other little bits, nuggets of wisdom, subscribe to my newsletter. That link is also in the comments below. And here's to a whole year of non-spontaneous sex in our long-term relationships. Take care. Lots of love. Bye now.